Hello, my name is Savian Karim Kamara. I am a community activist and I am based in Peckham. I'm originally from Sierra Leone. Well, I came to the UK in 1999 when there was war back home in my country. We went through a lot during the war and all of my family scattered all over the place. We lost some in the process. Our house was burned down. Yeah, so there was no home to go back to actually. And yeah, I moved to Peckham in 2000. Yeah, when I got a job in Harrods. And yeah, so I worked in Harrods for 16 years before I started doing my community work. Yeah, well, I am the founder and one of the directors for Keep the Drums Loose Tonight. We are a group of women who have been through different forms of abuse, and similarly, all of us are refugees, and all of us sadly have been through female genital mutilation, which you know as FGM. So we're using our experience to educate communities and to educate frontline professionals of how FGM is affecting us, what to look out for the signs, how best to support us. We work across Africa and also work across communities in the UK. And we are not just Sierra Leone group, we are Gambian, Nigerian, Kenyan, Liberian, we all mix. So we're different groups of African women with similar issues come together to support, because as you know, Peckham is so multicultural. It is a global issue, and collectively we can bring the practice to an end if we share ideas, we work together, and we understand. But the idea behind Bit by Bit Limited was when I had my daughter and I was in labor for 4 days. I couldn't have her as a result of my FGM. So I get to understand that that's how FGM affects me, and I kind of think of my communities and my surroundings, how FGM is affecting other women like myself. So I decided to start the movement of campaigning and talking to community members and stuff. So now, the way I was able to break into other communities who are outside my community was through the shop. I wanted to sell something that any African women can come and buy. Inside my shop, I have leaflets of NFGM campaign messages. I have condoms in baskets and trays. I have lubricated gel that you use, We have sweets and other things, but then a lot of leaflets and messaging. When you come to my shop, you can't help it but ask questions. Well, it's just that we're losing that, how do I say, that community sense of belonging. Most of the houses, newly built houses, you don't see, you see new people moving in to that, and the local people here can't really afford the amount of rent they're asking for. You can't afford to buy it, and those who are due to remove or rehousing, they move them to other areas, and they are not really happy because a lot of people come to our service for housing support. So that's big concern. But we would see what the council would do towards the developments and the changes that are happening to make sure that community people have stake, like the original people who are from Peckham here have, catered for. I think Peckham is one of the best places people would direct people to, whether it's your food shopping, whether it's ready-made meal. Yeah, so that is there. We don't really want to lose that. I want to see that what Peckham is known for, the multiculturalness, the Asians, the Africans, the Indian, the Chinese, the English people. It doesn't matter where, but it's very nice, where everyone is friendly, everyone feels safe, because here everybody know everybody. If I walk on the street now, people say, hello auntie, you would think that we're a relation, but that's how we relate to ourselves as family. I really want to see that, family. The way things are going, it look like we're going to lose all of that. And we want our children to be able to go and want to live in Peckham. not wanting to just go out because of the way things are changing, or feel that there's no provision made for them. I want to be the most popular shop in Southwark. I want, if anyone is thinking African food store, they should think of bit by bit. Not only because we stock the good stuff, but because making a big impact in the community. I want to have branches, not only in Peckham, but across London, yeah, of the business. And I want somebody down the road to be able to go into shop, but also getting other services that you don't expect to get that, just like we do for our people in Southwark here. That is my dream, and that has really helped, especially women who are from oppressive family, where they could comfortably walk into our store and get support and walk out smiling and come back and thank us.
I was born in South London and have lived here most of my life. I love the energy in Peckham, the food, the cultural diversity, the variety, and the daily changing landscape. I've seen Peckham morph through many, many stages, and it refuses to conform to any one stereotype. I've got 2 children, aged 9 and 11, and live in Peckham with them and my husband. I've made my home here with my family, and we're planning to stay. Caring for the environment and the natural world has always been something that's been a strong theme in my family, looking after the planet with care and empathy. In 2017, I attended a talk about climate science and started to understand the very immediate reality of the climate crisis. But when I started trying to tell people about it, I got a lot of strange looks, had some difficult and very short conversations, and in the end, I gave up. In 2018, I started a group called Plastic Free Peckham, which is part of the national charity Surfers Against Sewage. They started out years ago campaigning about the sewage that was making them unwell when they were out surfing. Now they campaign about plastic in our oceans as well as sewage. Plastic Free Peckham was made up entirely of volunteers. We did talks in schools, worked with businesses to reduce the single-use plastic that they use day to day, and arranged events like litter picks and tours of the local waste recycling centre on the Old Kent Road, which was surprisingly popular. But over time, I started to feel a bit uncomfortable about going into small businesses and talking to them about their plastic use, particularly because we were suggesting more costly alternatives when they were struggling to keep their businesses afloat. It feels like you have to be in a pretty privileged position to be worrying about things like single-use plastic or climate change. You need to not be worrying about feeding your family, keeping your job, or keeping your business going. So it felt like we needed to have a bigger conversation about what we all need to survive in our local community, rather than what some of us can or can't afford to consider as the most important things. So I crowdfunded some money, all donated by our local community, to run a project exploring what local small businesses want from their local community. And here are my thoughts. I've accepted the reality that where I live will change dramatically in the foreseeable future due to the effects of climate change, as it already affects communities around the world. When things start to break down here, where we live and work, where our children go to school, where we buy food and cook and eat with our families, we're going to need new ways of doing things. We'll need to rely on each other in new ways, to share water, to share food, to share our belongings, to stop keeping things just for ourselves and recognise that other people have needs that are just as great or greater than our own. Basically, we'll need caring relationships with other humans beyond our immediate families, beyond people like us, with lives like us. And that isn't possible to have with half the people. That isn't true community. We will need everybody to do everything all at once so that we can rebuild our relationships with each other, rebuild our relationships with nature, and start to understand that we're an integral part of the natural world, and that in destroying it, we will eventually destroy ourselves. I would love to see people in Peckham come together to create more community spaces, rooftop gardens, shared food allotments in parks, libraries of things for people to share belongings, cooking workshops for young people, to come together to create stronger and more resilient relationships with the people around us. Now, wouldn't that be nice?
My dad is probably my primary influence. I seem to have spent the majority of my academic life and life in general trying to follow in his footsteps. He, like me, is interested in the intersection between society and culture, and we're both interested in taking the theory we've learned, combining it with the experiences we've had, and trying our best to put it all into useful practice, like making sense of it. Turning theory into practice is the main purpose of what I want to do with my life, like making change that ordinary people can see, feel, and touch. My life and experiences in France during the Gilets jaunes protests, the Loi Sécurité Globale protests, Pride, pro-abortion protests, and COVID, amongst many other things, have combined with a theory from writers such as Stuart Hall, Judith Butler, and Huey Newton to shape my perspectives on the world and its workings. Likewise, the experiences I've had in South London, the people I've met and the conversations I've had alongside my schooling and now my masters have only served to bolster my enthusiasm for tangible progress and change in the communities I've had the pleasure of being a part of. And yet, while my academic work may have given the theoretical foundation and inspiration to be able to think about and discuss the world around me through a more critical lens, it's without a doubt the people I've met, the places I've been, and the communities I've immersed myself in that are the reason I am where I am today. I hope I've made Dad proud. I'm passionate about Peckham because of the diverse and vibrant community that has adopted me since I returned to the area. When I arrived in Peckham, I was searching for a community similar to the one I'd left behind in France. When I was there, I knew all my neighbours, all the shop owners, and lots of locals, and loved being a local and having built a community that I knew, loved, and felt like myself in. Through my job in Peckham, I've been able to meet with, talk to, and be influenced by people with interesting stories and experiences in the same way. The interactions with these people through the cafe, in the street, and in other locations and times around the area has demonstrated to me the power and importance of community relations and local interactions. This has bolstered my own personal aspiration to make meaningful, positive, and most importantly, tangible change for people in the communities that have made me. I think the future is complicated. It's hard not to be slightly nihilistic, and yet it's almost a duty to try and be positive. To try our best to make a better future for ourselves and for others. I hope that Peckham doesn't lose itself and that we don't lose it. In a new world of financial exploitation and environmental disaster, record high rents, and worst of all, £7 pints, retaining the soul of South London is the fight that all of us are involved in. I hope we keep together and keep building our community, doing what we can for our people and our planet. I trust we do what we can.
Basically, I'm a co-director of a space called Peckham Palms, which is a retail and business space primarily for Black women. It's a majority Black-owned space, and it's basically a space that's trying to maintain a particular demographic of business in the area whilst changes are being made, or for want of a better word, gentrification. So I think that Southwark, in their wisdom, realised that after looking at how things went down in Brixton, they've tried to be more sympathetic to the existing communities and try to maintain aspects that can very easily get erased when money and regeneration comes into the mix in any area. So we've basically had this space open since 2019, and it's mainly host to beauticians and stylists. I mean, I'm pretty sure you know Peckham, Ryan. There's a lot of people that share rent or have little business spaces for that. But we also have like a little restaurant space, and have opened up some office space and co-working space. So that's one of my many hats. I also put on events for Brixton Village with my husband, and I'm a DJ and do other things amongst all of that. But I guess my hat today is mainly representing Peckham and the sort of small business community that we tend to work with. It's kind of seen it before many developments have taken place in the area. I understand that gentrification is happening all over London, England, the world, all over. And there's nothing particularly positive about it because it always tends to go a particular way. Of course, there's been improvements. The irritation about it is that there is a classist and racist aspects of this, because why didn't we need to have safer lighting? Why didn't we need to have better pavements and less potholes? It's almost as if as soon as a particular class of people start to have an interest in a community or area, then that's when local government and big government say, oh, we can invest in this area. So there's a laziness. It almost seems like if you say you're anti the changes, you're saying you're anti-development. No one is against development, but we are against development when it's like, okay, so I was living in a dilapidated house for how long? And as soon as some middle to upper class people decide to invest, all of a sudden you remembered that there's mold in my flat. Why I've got involved even in Peckham Palms is because it's very easy to stand on the sidelines and go, look at all the changes that are happening in our area, it's terrible. And it's very easy go on protests and marches, and it's not so easy to try to go into the system, speak to the councillors, try to even work out why this system goes this way. I like to see the mix. I like to see new bars and new venues on a very personal level. I see a lot of positive, but I do think that without any scrutiny, it does eventually displace a number of communities, and that's the problem. That's all it is. There's nothing wrong with having a nice bar or restaurant in your, on your doorstep. I used to do market stalls for a number of years, so I've seen the whole picture. Right now, it's very optimistic in Peckham because they have yet to see what's the next level, and the next level is the problem. It's difficult. I think more dialogues have to happen across various communities. I don't think that it's very easy to talk about the upper classes and the lower classes and act like we don't literally live side by side in cities like London anyway. I think there has to be more dialogue. I would like there to be a wider conversation with people in general in how can we coexist together in a more meaningful way. But a lot of these things have to start organically, and I think we have to change the way we think. I don't think that enough of people in cities like London bother to speak to each other and find commonality, so it becomes very fragmented and very them and us. So I'd welcome more of those dialogues, which do happen in social spaces naturally. When you've got a spreadsheet and a PowerPoint presentation of how you're going to bring communities together, I sort of roll my eyes because I just don't think that's how things happen. If I meet you in a pub today, we probably get a lot more sorted than that presentation in a controlled space with the council. It always relies on oppressed communities who somehow just sort of managed to make lemonade from lemons. So they're invariably always making things quite interesting. And then some of these wealthier communities who have, forfeited culture for money and capitalism want to be next to it. They understand, wow, look at this community. They seem really warm and genuine. So they say, I want to move there. Yeah. But the issue is, why can't you understand how to contribute authentically? There lies their issue.
Okay, my name is Cedric Wilby, who's a passionate community activist hailing from northwest London, who has dedicated over 20 years of his life to living and working in southeast London. With an unwavering commitment to human rights and justice, Cedric is an unapologetic advocate for Black, African and Caribbean communities. For me, Peckham is more than a physical space. It is a college of culture, rivaling any on London cosmopolitan stage. It is bustling markets, vibrant Afro-Caribbean and Nigerian influences, an ever-expanding fusion of cuisine creates an unrivaled melting pot. Here, the legacy of Jane Baldwin as tireless advocate of human rights and equity finds resonance. Peckham embodies the inclusivity, diversity, and unwavering optimism of Baldwin's work as it shapes its unique identity. Yet, the story of Peckham has only just begun, and the future beckons with an inviting optimism. As I imagine its potential, I see a community empowered by values of interconnectedness and shared experience. In these visions of tomorrow, Peckham becomes a nurturing hub of arts and culture where creativity flourishes in every alley, every gallery, and even every retail space. In this eclectic Peckham, the community harnesses its collective passion, gifting the world the groundbreaking artistic expressions. Literally masterpieces and transformative ideas that shake and shape society. Bold initiative driven by united fronts, reimagine public spaces, breaking down barriers and fostering authentic connections. The spirits of people like Moody, Masons and Baldwin, a beacon of hope reliant, guides Peckham towards becoming an archetype of urban revitalisation, a blueprint for inclusive growth, a college of culture, rivaling any London cosmopolitan stage. Imagine its potential.
A Ballad to Peckham Rye. I've learned that the place where your feet are planted is where you're from. Where I grew up in the north reminds me of here, a whiff of satanic mills, of rebellion, celebration, pioneering spirits and dry humour against silent oppression. Peckham's history, from its angels glittering in the trees, the brutality, shifting cultural landscapes, to a playground for the worker in service to capital and the city. But this is ancient and common land, sparks heterotopia, it's time for reclamation. My Peckham passion is to pull together the rich resources in front of us, so if and when the shit hits the fan, in whatever shape or at whatever speed, we'll all have a place to belong to. I see layers superimposed, the system's presence sitting astride us all, pinning us down, dividing, and always to its own benefit. Rye Lane's fresh produce dazzles and reassures that communities and people are still nurturing and loving. And frankly, I want in. Peckham shifts and morphs with such speed. So could it be, and why shouldn't it be, closer together? It fills me with possibility, bringing a sense of safety, breaking down real and imagined walls. A sense of belonging cannot be achieved alone. The naming and storying of place is where we'll find meaning for us all. So my heart dreams of the more beautiful world we all know is possible. Citizens' assemblies, redistributing what there is for those that need it most, and decided by us. Community events, dancing, food sharing, exchange systems based on time and love. It'll take a push. The system is powerful. It tells us it's hopeless. Other people are scary, and people don't care. But when we sit with each other and see souls flash through eyes, simple reflections of your own, they're indelibly printed and changed for the good forever.
My name is Ubaid Mohammed Ma'azu. I'm 41 years old and I grew up in Peckham. I'm passionate about young people and food and the environment. Growing up in Peckham, I wanted to always talk to young people about their futures when it came to their local community environment. So I started working with Southwark Council Children's Services, where I saw different types of issues that young people were concerned about, like having safe places to hang out and without getting in trouble. Working with detached youth groups to come together to make a change, I worked with Southwark Youth Council. This was for young people to make local changes within their local community. Southwark Council gave funding to other young people to do campaigns like peer-to-peer mentoring, stop and search campaigns, or issues that were affecting their local communities. Working with young people, I realised that food was a factor that brought up good conversations and brought people together. This was what made me want to work with young people more closely in partnership with food, and inevitably this is what made me open up my business in Peckham. Having a takeaway shop in Peckham gave me the opportunity to meet people from different backgrounds and have conversations about food and the environment. I'm of Northern Nigerian descendant, Hausa community. I come from a large family. I have 5 siblings, all females. So I was always in the kitchen as a young person with my mum and sisters. And I always found that when we're in the kitchen cooking, we had great conversations about everything and anything. I used to work for a charity with young people, and I used to run a catering hospitality level 1 course, teaching young people how to cook and live on a low budget. And through this course, I had great conversations with young people about the environment, about food, about the pricing of food as well, which they found interesting because of going to chicken and chip shops and how you could live on a low budget going to somewhere like a Morrison's and do a shop to make your money go further. Open up the shop made me more environmental conscious as well, having conversations with people about, what's going on in Peckham in terms of aluminium packaging and microplastics as well. The future I would like to see in Peckham, I would like to see a future where food is at reasonable prices for local people. I would like to see local businesses using packages that is friendly for our environment and our local environment. As a business owner, I will be supporting my community by changing the way my packaging, the way I dispose of food, the way I give back food to charity. So like wastage of food, that's a big factor as well. I'm about to become a father, and I've been thinking about the world that my unborn child will be coming into, which has made me more conscious about the environment and about Peckham, and as a business owner, how I would change that to support other young children coming into this world.
Okay, my name is Sandra Ferguson, and I'm the CEO of Tree Shepherd. We help individuals to see self-employment as an option. We help people to start their own businesses. We help those businesses that already exist to stay in business. And we also support people or businesses that have been affected by regeneration. So if there's some massive development that's happening, we will go in and work with the businesses to see how they can be a part of that. I mean, in the first instance, essentially that's what brings me to Peckham. But historically, yes, I didn't grow up here, but we lived here when I was a tiny baby. And my mum bought my christening dress from a clothes shop on the high street on Rye Lane. As an adult, I lived here for a few years with my first baby. So I've been connected to Peckham in that way. But really, my original reason I'm here is that Tree Shepherd was commissioned by the GLA and Mount View Theatre to come to Peckham to help set up the Peckham Business Forum. So this is where we were working with independent businesses, predominantly women, predominantly black businesses, who really needed to get together to kind of have a voice about what they could be doing, looking towards their future. There's lots of change happening up the high street, and it was really important for the business community to sit down and think about what it could do. So that's what we've been doing in the last 18 months. And we've managed to get local business owners elected as the chair and the committee, which is something that we're really proud of. Well, the power of having a collective, it's initially about really coming together to have a voice, to be able to understand what's happening on the streets so that they can then communicate that I'll have the conversation with the people and organisations that make the decisions about what's happening. So, for example, the committee will have, access to the local authority. There's also the Berkeley Homes development, major development happening on the high street. Again, the forum will have access to those conversations about informing the developer about what can be done to support the growth of the businesses on the high street so that they don't miss out. So, the powers they have is, to have a collective voice, to, raise concerns and to really importantly tell people the solutions to some of those problems, because they actually know what needs to be done to make the high street thrive, and they just need to be listened to. So essentially that's what's going to happen. The culture of Peckham needs to survive. The business culture of Peckham needs to survive. It is amazing how long some of those businesses have actually been on the high street. Over 30 years for some of them. 30 years. And that shows that they're resilient, that shows they're adaptable, that shows that, they can grow and blend with the changes that are happening. I feel like I've got nothing to prove to anyone. There's nothing to have too much anxiety about. And I genuinely care about people. And that's the thing that I've always done from a very young age. I mean, at the age of 18, I started off as a nurse. My mum was a nurse, and she encouraged me to be a nurse. I did want to be a dancer, but my mum said, dancing, may not be too much of a career. Look to nursing. And I went into nursing, and I loved it. I loved the people. I loved seeing when, there could be a crisis, but then you can actually sort stuff out. So one of my favourite places was working in A&E, where people rush in, you've got to do stuff really quickly, and you can help somebody immediately. I went to work in the public sector. So again, I've carried the theme of people with me. Future for Peckham, oh gosh, I want to see a future for Peckham where everyone has a choice. You have a choice to make a decision about whether or not you want to stay, whether you want to go, whether you want to have a business here, whether you want to expand. I think it's important for people to have choices. I think, when you don't feel like you've got a choice and you feel like you're being pushed out of an area, that's not good. So for me, having choices. The future for me, right, I want to just keep going. I never planned to think of retirement as a little old lady sitting in a rocking chair doing knitting. No, I don't think that's for me. I want to share what I know. I've kind of got to a point in my life where I've gathered years and years of experience, and I want to share that with people, wherever I can. To reclaim gentrification. Doesn't have to mean, as I say, squelching people in another corner. We can retain what we've got. That's beautiful. So